Shana Tova. Our reading for the second day of Rosh Hashanah is always a challenging one. Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, one of the most challenging and difficult narratives within the entire Torah. It has served, however, as a basis for many interpretations, as our ancestors and generation of generation have encountered this text and tried to look at different angles and different perspectives. Does Abraham pass the test? Does he fail? Did he know all along that he wouldn't have to go forward? There are many midrashim, many rabbinic narratives that open up this text, and I wanted to read one to you. This one is from Midrash Tanchuma and says the following: At that same hour, when an angel stayed Abraham's hand from killing Isaac, Satan, the evil one, went to Sarah and appeared to her with the visage of Isaac. She said to him, "My son, what has your father done to you?" He said to her, "My father took me up mountains and down valleys and brought me to the summit of Mount Moriah and built an altar and arranged the firewood and set me up on the altar and bound me and took the knife to slay me. And if the Holy One, blessed be God, had not said to him, 'Do not send your hand against the child,' I would be already slaughtered." Satan did not even finish speaking these words before Sarah's soul went out of her. And thus the Torah says, immediately after the story of the binding of Isaac, and Abraham came to lament for Sarah and cry for her as she passes away. From whence did Abraham come? He came from Mount Moriah. This is a fascinating midrash and has some elegance to it because it addresses so many different issues at once. On the most superficial level, it addresses the curious and therefore problematic locution, and Abraham came to lament for Sarah. Why does he suddenly lament for Sarah? And deals with the somewhat unclear time lag that occurs between the ending of the story of the binding of Isaac and the news of Sarah's death that happens immediately thereafter. Midrash loves to discover hidden relationships among texts that lie near each other and posits some kind of connection. The biblical text itself prompts readers to imagine what Abraham and Isaac were thinking. It is not a far cry then from there to wondering what Sarah knew of this ordeal. In addition, the appearance of Satan in the Midrash fits in with another traditional Midrash. Satan is said to have proposed a challenge. Even a person of great faith would not continue to love and obey God when stripped of rewards and incentives. This raises a key moral question. How and why should God command a parent to kill a child? The answer is it's not God. It originated with Satan, so the Midrash can deflect some of this challenge. And it also offers a more subtle answer. The moral objection should stand. And because of Satan is the one who spawns the evil. And of course, regardless of what set this trial into motion, our Midrash makes it clear that Sarah found it totally insupportable, and she can't handle it, and her response is one of such pain. And of course, then we're left with the question of Abraham's seemingly ready to comply with this command, and Isaac's innocence, and of course, the father-son bond in this biblical episode, in contrast to Abraham's earlier plea for mercy for the people of stone. How can Abraham plead on their behalf and not plead for his own child. This midrash, the Tanchuma, really tries to bring about addressing the gaps between Satan and Sarah in the biblical story. If you look at the text, Isaac is never mentioned as returning from Mount Moriah, so we don't know what happened to him. Satan, therefore, in the Midrash's mind, can impersonate Isaac. And of course, later on in Jewish history, Isaac's disappearance is imagined differently. Many places in the medieval literature, the tradition imagines that Isaac actually died. And that's because Jews suffered terrible persecutions in the time of these later Midrashim and then throughout the Middle Ages. And so Jews who suffered persecution wrote Midrashim comparing their own martyrdom to that of Isaac. Our Midrash portrays Sarah as a kind of martyr as she passes away upon hearing the news, and it thus fills the second major gap, her absence from the story, and now she's been brought into the narrative. Abraham's then obedience seems almost paltry in comparison to Sarah's heroic death as she feels the pain of the narrative. We see the power of Midrash, the ability to reinterpret and turn stories around and give them new meaning. And that for us is, of course, what we do with the tradition. Generation after generation encounters these same texts, and we bring new meaning to them. That is one of the greatest studies of Torah, and one that I hope all of us continue to bring to the text as we continue, as the rabbi says, hafochba v'hafochba dekulaba. We turn it over and over again and learn new insights. I also want to commend Thomas Miller, who just carried around the Torah, another one of our B'nai Mitzvah, impacted by this pandemic, and yasher koach to him. The Torah reading is found on page 103, and we invite up Jeremiah Kissel to read it dramatically in modern form of Midrash as well.